Hello and welcome to the complete guide for Scatter Pro. I'm excited to show you one of the most powerful scattering tools for Blender. This add-in will transform how you create environments, vegetation, and complex scenes. Scatter Pro gives you 5 specialized tools: Pin tool for precise placement, Throw tool for physics-based scattering, Circle tool for brush painting, Falloff tool for density gradients, and Billboard tool for optimized 2D planes. Each tool has unique strengths, but they all share common settings and shortcuts we'll master together. Let's dive in. Pin tool is your precision instrument. Think of it like placing individual trees or rocks exactly where you want them. Let's start with the basics. First, you'll choose what to scatter. You can select a single object from the source dropdown, or pick an entire collection. When you use a collection, the tool randomly selects objects each time you click, creating natural variation. There's also a seed offset slider that changes which objects get picked without moving anything, perfect for trying different combinations. Now let's talk about spacing. This is the minimum distance between objects in Blender units. If you try placing something too close to an existing object, it won't allow it. Higher spacing means objects stay further apart. Scale factor controls how big everything is. You can adjust this while working using Ctrl plus mouse wheel. Scroll up to make things bigger, scroll down to make them smaller. Super intuitive. Rotation sets the base angle around the vertical axis. Objects still align to the surface normal, but this adds extra twist. Want to adjust rotation interactively? Hold Ctrl and drag left or right with your mouse while the tool is active. You'll see the rotation change in real time before you place anything. Here's where it gets powerful: the helper modes. First is mirror. Enable this button, and every object you place gets a mirrored copy on the opposite side. Choose your axis X, Y, or Z and sanons. You can mirror around the world origin or relative to an empty object you've placed. If you choose the empty method, there's even an offset slider to fine-tune the mirror plane position. Next is eraser mode. Click the eraser button, and instead of placing objects, you're now deleting them. Drag your cursor across the scene, and anything within the eraser radius gets removed. Then we have replacer mode. This is incredibly useful. Instead of deleting or adding, you're swapping. Click on existing scattered objects, and they get replaced with whatever you specify in the Replace With field. The brush radius determines how many objects get swapped at once. Now for the keyboard shortcuts that make Pin tool lightning fast. Left mouse click places one object. Shift plus left mouse click creates a straight line of objects between your last point and current cursor, perfect for fences or evenly spaced trees. Hold Ctrl and drag left or right to adjust rotation before placing. Shift plus mouse wheel adjusts spacing. Alt plus mouse wheel adjusts the circle radius. Press X, Y, or Z keys to constrain movement to those world axes. Press the same key again to toggle off. Shift plus middle mouse automatically detects your drag direction and constrains accordingly. Press Enter when you're done to commit everything. Throw tool brings physics simulation into the mix. Instead of precisely placing objects, you're literally throwing them and letting gravity do the work, like tossing a handful of pebbles onto the ground. Everything we learned in Pin tool applies here: collection selection, scale, mirror, eraser, replacer all work identically, so I won't repeat those. Let's focus on what makes Throw tool unique. Per click count controls how many objects get thrown each time you click. Ctrl plus Alt plus mouse wheel adjusts this on the fly. Samples determines candidate positions. Higher samples mean better distribution, but slightly slower performance. Ctrl plus Shift plus mouse wheel adjusts this. Here's where physics comes in. Throw force controls how hard objects are launched upward before gravity pulls them down. Higher force makes objects fly higher and farther. Adjust it with Shift plus mouse wheel while the tool is active. Offset distance lifts or lowers objects from the surface along the normal direction. Positive values prevent objects from clipping into the ground, negative values push them below. Adjust with Shift plus Alt plus mouse wheel. Gravity strength controls how fast objects fall. Animation play duration sets when the simulation stops and objects freeze in place. Simulation frames should match or be less than this value. Accurate calculation is important. When enabled, thrown objects get passive rigid body physics after baking, so they interact properly with future simulations. Disable it for better performance if you don't need physics interaction. Custom shape constraint is next. Enable this to restrict scattering to specific boundaries. You can use an image texture where black blocks placement and white allows it, or use a curve object where only points inside the closed curve accept objects. Perfect for painting grass inside a specific area or avoiding rocky patches. Random transforms add life to your scatter. Random rotation spins each object differently, so they don't all face the same direction. Random scale varies size between your min and max values. Without these, everything looks artificial and computer-generated. The workflow is simple. Click to throw objects, watch them fall and settle in real time, then the tool automatically bakes their final positions. Circle tool transforms scattering into a painting experience. Unlike Pin tool where you click once, Circle tool lets you hold and drag to continuously paint objects across your surface. Again, all the foundation settings from Pin tool collection: spacing, scale, mirror, eraser, replacer, custom shape, and random transforms work exactly the same way. The unique feature here is the circular brush that follows your cursor. Everything inside this circle gets scattered when you click or drag. The circle radius defines this size, adjustable with Alt plus mouse wheel. Here's a killer feature: rotation preview. Hold Control and click drag left or right, and you'll see preview objects rotate before they're permanently placed. This lets you align vegetation or rocks perfectly before committing. When you release, they lock in at that rotation. No other tool has this interactive rotation preview. All the same keyboard shortcuts apply. Control plus mouse wheel for scale. Control plus Shift plus mouse wheel for samples. Control plus Alt plus mouse wheel for per click count. And Alt plus mouse wheel for radius. Falloff tool creates natural transitions where density decreases with distance perfect for forest edges, vegetation patches, or anywhere you want clustering that gradually thins out. All Pin tool foundations apply here too: collection, spacing, scale, mirror, eraser, replacer, custom shape, and random transforms. The magic is in the Falloff parameters. Falloff power controls how quickly density transitions from dense to sparse. Higher values create sharp contrast between center and edges. Think of a small oasis in a desert. Lower values create smooth, gradual transitions, like a forest naturally thinning out. Tail density is the fraction of objects placed in the outer sparse zone compared to the dense center. If per click is 100 and tail density is 0.35, you get 100 objects in the center and 35 more in the outer ring. This creates that characteristic Falloff pattern. The exceptions system is powerful. Enable use exceptions and add collections to the list. Any mesh in those collections creates blocked areas where nothing grows. Set exception spacing to control how far objects stay away from exception meshes. Perfect for keeping grass off rocks or trees off roads. Keyboard shortcuts match the others. Control plus Shift plus mouse wheel for samples. Control plus Alt plus mouse wheel for per click. Control plus mouse wheel for scale. Alt plus mouse wheel for radius. Billboard tool is all about performance. Instead of 3D objects, you're scattering flat 2D planes with images that always face the camera. Perfect for distant forests, background crowds, or anything far from camera where you don't need full 3D detail. Foundation settings apply again. Spacing, scale, eraser, and random scale work the same way. Mirror and replacer are not available for billboards. You must have an active camera. Billboards use a locked track constraint targeting it. Without a camera, the tool won't work. Plane width and height define physical dimensions in Blender. Units match these to your texture aspect ratio for correct proportions. Edit Material button opens the material editor. All billboards in a session share the same material, making batch editing efficient. The workflow is like circle tool click or paint to scatter billboard planes. They automatically rotate to face the camera. You can set them to dynamic mode where they continuously update when the camera moves, or static mode where they lock at placement time for better performance. Every scatter operation creates a group. Think of groups as sessions. They keep track of what you scattered, when, and with which tool. The group list shows all your sessions. Select any group to view its properties. The objects count tells you how many items are in that group. Each group has an editable name. Rename session 1 to something like forest trees or ground rocks for better organization. Settings loaded. This lets you continue adding to an existing scatter session days or weeks later. Everything stays consistent. Every object resizes simultaneously, perfect for tweaking overall proportions without rescattering. Groups automatically link to collections in Blender's outliner. When you create a group, Scatter Pro creates a matching collection and puts all objects inside it. Rename the group in the panel, and the collection updates automatically. Rename the collection in the outliner, and the group updates. This two-way sync keeps everything organized effortlessly. Remove group deletes the entire group and all its objects permanently. Use with caution. The scale slider is powerful. Adjust the entire group's size after scattering. Camera culling is performance magic. When you scatter thousands of objects, Blender processes all of them even if most are outside the camera view. Camera culling automatically hides what the camera can't see, dramatically boosting viewport and render performance. You need an active camera, and at least one scatter group for this to work. The main toggle button enables or disables the entire system. Min distance defines the closest point, where objects stay visible. Objects closer than this get hidden. Max distance defines the farthest point. Objects beyond this get hidden. Set these based on your scene scale. Enable frustum culling to hide objects outside the camera's field of view. Even if something is within distance range, if it's left, right, above, or below what the camera sees, it gets hidden. Maximum performance optimization. Frustum margin adds a safety buffer around the frame edges. Values above 1.0 like 1.2 keep objects visible slightly off-screen. This prevents popping and ensures shadows and reflections from just outside frame objects remain visible. Update interval controls calculation frequency in frames. Value of 1 means every frame smooth but slightly expensive. Value of 5 means every 5 frames more efficient but brief delays during fast camera movement. And that's Scatter Pro. You've learned 5 specialized tools, dozens of shared settings, all the keyboard shortcuts, and powerful optimization features. Pin tool for precision placement. Throw tool for physics-based realism. Circle tool for painting workflows. Falloff tool for natural density gradients. Billboard tool for performance-optimized backgrounds. Group management for organization. Camera culling for smooth performance. The key to mastery is understanding the foundation pin tool's shared settings, then recognizing what makes each tool unique. Now go create stunning environments. Thanks for watching.